It seems this week's print and broadcast corporate media that Scotland's National Health Service is heading for a cardiac arrest. It's in chaos, in turmoil, meltdown, it's Armageddon. In short, the corporate media is telling us here in Scotland that
we're doomed.
No, be quiet, Fraser.
We're entombed. Entombed.
so what's really going on? Is Scotland's health service the basket case that the corporate media is so keen to portray? Or are we once more the victims of their black arts? Is there another agenda, a hidden agenda at play here? Well, it is no secret that virtually all of the corporate media in Scotland are aligned against Scotland's democratically elected SNP Government and would be happy, no doubt, to see it fall at next year's Scottish parliamentary elections. And if they can't make it fall, they will do their utmost to ensure Nicola Sturgeon is denied an overall majority, because in doing that they can effectively scupper any chance that the SNP leader can hold a second independence referendum. And so to Scotland's National Health Service, probably the single most important service in Scotland and the one that is surely cherished the most by the people of Scotland. If you can paint the SNP government in a bad light with regards to the Scottish NHS, then you have a chance of taking votes away from the Scottish Government at next year's elections. That is what is at stake here, and the stakes could not be higher. So now to the truth of the matter. How is Scotland's NHS performing under the Nationalist Government? Is it the basket case the corporate media make out, or are they merely blowing a lot of hot air? Let's consider some hard facts. Scottish Government funding for day-to-day NHS services and new hospital buildings had fallen by 0.7% in real terms over the last 6 years, despite ministers' claims that funding had been protected. The line about day-to-day services and new hospital buildings is highly peculiar, as there seems no immediately obvious reason why these two things should be listed together like this, and it most certainly isn't one of the key facts listed in the report. Indeed, it's not until about 2/3 of the way down the Guardian article that we are finally told of the reason for the fractional decrease. Shona Robinson, the Scottish Health Secretary, said that based on 2015-16 prices and latest Treasury data, spending on providing day-to-day NHS services had grown by 5.8% over the last 5 years. Capital spending had fallen because building work on the £842 million Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Glasgow had ended. And here we see the Scottish Health Secretary's claim is backed up in the report. It is nevertheless true that whatever the reason, the report does find that the NHS spending in Scotland is now 0.7% lower in real terms than it was in 2008-9. Except that that's hardly surprising when we know from the very same body, Audit Scotland, that the Scottish Government's budget has been cut by well over 10 times that much in the years following the banking crash in 2008 and the election of the Tories. All of which makes the Guardian's phrasing, despite ministers' claims that funding had been protected, rather strange. If Holyrood's total budget has fallen by 10%, then logically NHS spending will also have dropped by the same amount, unless it had been protected. That the decrease is in fact so small at only 0.7% and largely attributable to the completion of the new Glasgow Super Hospital inescapably proves that NHS spending in Scotland has indeed been protected by the current Scottish Government. Incidentally, the health service is entirely funded from the DEL part of the Scottish budget, which even Andrew Neil now accepts has been slashed. Of course, health services the world over are under great strain as populations age and grow and technology advances. Scotland is in no way immune from those problems and also has to cope with its annual budget being cut for purely ideological reasons by the UK Government. There are clearly some serious current and future problems facing healthcare systems everywhere. NHS England, for example, just recorded its highest waiting times figures in 7 years. But the report clearly demonstrates that under exceptionally tough circumstances, the Scottish Government has in fact worked miracles in defending the NHS here in Scotland. Audit Scotland notes that the number of people working in the NHS in Scotland is at its highest level, despite all the financial constraints and constant assertions to the contrary from Labour and the corporate media. There's no room, however, for complacency or congratulations. Waiting times, while still vastly improved from those of previous Labour Lib Dem administrations in Scotland, who benefited from their budgets actually increasing every year, not going down, are moving in the wrong direction. Staff are put under increasing stress trying to keep up with growing pressures from higher demand and stretched resources, which in turn hampers recruitment. But unless the media and opposition are aware of the location of a magic money tree or have any actual constructive ideas other than something must be done, the quest for doom and gloom headlines painting everything in the most apocalyptic light possible and dishonestly distorting and misrepresenting the figures in order to do so can only make things worse. We hope that these facts will let you see that the corporate media in Scotland are telling outright lies. Our health service in Scotland is doing better than most and is being protected by the present Scottish Government. And on that note, it is only fair and proper that the final word on this should go to a former patient of Glasgow's newest hospital.
Y me llama el cocinero. Risita, ¿qué? Ve por la paellera. Venga, que las 2 de la tarde ya están aquí. Miren, bañador. En las chanclas. Todo despeinado porque no me dio tiempo nada ponerme las chanclas y el bañador. Voy a la playa, había subido la marea. Eso. Eso. Había subido la marea y encontré una paella. Y la encontré porque estaba la paellera agarrada metida entre las piedras de Chipiona, del faro. Y cuando entro en el restaurante me ve el cocinero con una paellera y a ver solamente paellera. ¡Anda, vale! restaurante. Había subido la marea. Jesús. ¡Ay, qué hacemos ahora! Con los dos sacos de arroz. ¡Ay, llama para Sevilla! ¡Llama a Sevilla que traigo un país! ¡Ay, Jesús! Yo con el bañador y con la paella. ¡Ay, el cocinero! No veas, para Sevilla. Y al último, que cuando ya salió la bien de regla, estamos llorando los dos. Me cobró el tío la paella. Me cobró a 500 veces la paella. Y ya no fui más. Me fui andando a coger los amarillos hasta hoy. Me mandó por la noche, había bajado más el agua y por la mañana había subido. Cualquiera estaba donde la paellera, ¿sabes? A lo mejor está en el barco ese del petróleo.
En el Prestige.
En el Petriense. Y ya no trabajé más la cocina. Ya aborrecí la cocina. ¡Ay! ¡Ay! Pues no cobré nada, me dieron el dinero del bote.
¿Había mucho dinero en el bote?
Lo que me echaban y el dinero de lo que gané, me cobraron 20 paelleras. A 500 caras, pues viste lo que me llevé yo para Sevilla. Ay, ya aborrecí la playa. Ay, hemos llorado los dos. Ya está, tú, no es para tanto, yo. Así yo no quiero arroz, tú, yo no quiero arroz ni en chino, vamos.